And it's hard to exaggerate just how many people are down in the square. I just want to show you the shot that we're getting now of the chimney. I tell you why, because there's a seagull that has been perched on it, and Vatican Television, who are controlling these pictures, obviously think the seagull is getting far too much attention, and so they have reframed the shot so you can just about see the seagull's legs, but not the rest of its body. Possibly today one of the most famous gulls in the whole of the world, as it moves one leg rather tentatively on that chimney. Maybe it's about to get very warm there, because it will do if the smoke starts to rise. We are watching it very closely. I am joined by Father Thomas Reese from the Woodstock Theological Centre, and used to be editor of America, the weekly Catholic magazine, and Kishore Jayabalan, the director of the Roman Action Institute for the Study of Religion and Liberty. And both of you, welcome. We are waiting on this. Do you have any kind of sense of it? Do you have any feeling of when this is going to come?
Oh, I think it could come any time tonight. But I think this is really a critical junction in the conclave process, because they had the votes last night, and for the first time they saw how much support there was for each candidate. And then this morning, with 2 more votes, they began to see, okay, who was picking up votes as the time went on. And tonight, I think they're going to have to see, do the front runners make it to the finish line, or do they have to look for someone else? I think this is a really critical juncture in this conclave process.
Kishore?
Well, unlike most of your other analysts, I'll readily admit I have no idea what's going on inside. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I want the cardinals to take their time. It's a very important decision for the church and for the world. And, you know, as long as they come out with a man at some point, you know, in the next few days, we'll be excited to see who he is. And we're all here for, we're anticipating that great moment when we find out who the Pope is.
I suppose there is an argument which says if it goes on too long, then people are going to start speculating, saying there must be an enormous split inside the conclave and cardinals can't agree amongst themselves, which only matters insofar as it has an impact on church unity if people have the impression that the church is divided.
If it goes on for too long. Now, I think if it goes on another day or two, I don't think that's too long to pick the next Pope. I also think that the next Pope will be able to bridge some of that perceived, you know, gaps in unity that might come about. We all know that there's disunity in the church already, and the next Pope is going to have to deal with that at some point during his pontificate.
How profound is that disunity?
It depends. I think Father Reese might be able to tell me more about this. He knows more of the front lines of these disagreements. From my perspective, we work in theology and economics, and so we realize that there is already a divorce between what people do on Sundays in church and what people do during the rest of the week, and we're trying to work on that. And I think all of the church, that includes the Pope, the cardinals, the bishops, the priests, the laity, like us, have something to do, and we all have to work on this, and it's never going to be finished until the world ends.
Do you want to navigate us through the lines of the divisions?
Well, I really don't think it matters how long they take. I wouldn't care if they took a month, as long as when they finished, they got a man who really people identified with and would be a good Pope. Because once he came out and people fell in love with him, they'd forget very quickly how long it took. I think it's much more important who they pick than how long they take.
If you have faith, and profound faith, like I'm sure the vast majority of the people that are standing there in St. Peter's Square, because why on earth would you stand in the rain and in the cold for this long otherwise? Don't you fall in love with him automatically? Isn't there an automaticity about it because he is the Pope?
Well, I mean, Jesus, you know, started the church and then left us to human beings to run. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some are saints, some are sinners. I think that we've had different kinds of popes. Some, you know, people fall in love with, they admire. Others, it's hard to warm up to them. So personality can make a difference. But I think that ultimately, you know, our faith is not in the Pope. Our faith is in Jesus Christ. This is the man we have to fall in love with much more than the Pope.
But the leadership of the church matters in terms of whether people, young people, I don't know, are going to embrace the church or walk away.
Absolutely. I mean, the most important job of the Pope is to figure out how to preach the gospel in a way that's attractive to people in this century. And I don't think you can do that by just quoting from 13th century theology. We have to find new ways of expressing the faith to this generation in a way that grabs young people and gets them involved.
Can I just say, he is called Holy Father, and the fact that he's a father to us means that we're going to love him no matter who he is, or even really what he says. As children, as his spiritual children, that's what all that enthusiasm is about. That's why the crowds are there, because they're looking for a spiritual father.
But there are good popes and bad popes, aren't there?
There are better popes and worse popes, I'll put it that way.
Okay. Historically, how do you think Pope Benedict will go down?
He'll go down as a great teaching pope, a great intellectual pope, a great writer. If you read his encyclicals, he had this marvelous ability to take complicated theological concepts and put into simple language. So I think he'll be best known for that, for his teaching.
Okay, well, both of you, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Thank you for taking time to spend time with us to look at that chimney to see if we're going to get any smoke. Not yet, is what I fear, and we'll be here for a little while yet. But of course, there will be smoke this evening, whether black or white, and that will probably come in the next hour or so. But for now, from the Vatican, it's back to you in the studio in London.